Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the MX Endurance Podcast, where we look at everything that's been happening in the world of endurance sports. And James Bale, has everything been happening in the world of endurance sports, or what?
What a week! What a week! Are we not just gagging for this, mate? Hey, are we gonna?
Mate,
this is gonna fly by. It's
a jam-packed episode. This could be a 3-hour episode, guys. There's so much to get through. My name is Tim Ford, and I am joined by the previously mentioned sexiest voice in triathlon himself, James Bale, mate. Yeah, big week in triathlon news, that's for sure.
I'm going to be taking very, very slow, considered sips of water between sentences on this one to try and make the hour, because we try and do a minimum hour, don't we?
Yeah,
but it's slim pickings. January's come and gone. We're in February, and there isn't a huge amount happening, is there? Where is all the news?
I heard there's a specific podcast player that people can download, and it has an AI built into it that will go through and automatically remove any of the long pauses or silences. So there's constant text. If you put this episode through that app, it might be a 10-minute episode this week.
Any unnecessary laughing, clearing of the throat, long pauses, because there's going to be a few. It's not been the best week for news. There isn't a huge amount going on, but keep listening, beloved listeners, because it will be worth it. We'll make it worth it. We always try.
Yeah, we'll go. Knowing us, we'll start talking about one thing, and we'll go down some massive rabbit hole about. I mean, it's funny because even we were meant to start recording 20 minutes ago. And I think us starting the conversation about how little there is to talk about this week ended up being a 20-minute conversation.
We went through a few different things. We ended up talking about The Last of Us, I think. You've torn your plantar, haven't you?
Yeah. I know last week I was all like, it's just a nerve thing and I'm going to be fine. Yeah. The MRI came back on Friday and confirmed that I've got a tear in my plantar fascia, which obviously is not ideal considering I was hoping that this would be a relatively quick fix.
How bad is that? How bad is a tear in the plantar fascia? What's the roadmap for that?
I mean, it sounds like there's a few different things to consider. So my physio says it's actually because I've clearly had plantar fasciitis for quite a while. He said it's pretty common that will then be accompanied by some form of tear. The report said it's like 13 millimeters. So it's not a short thing. It's quite long, but it's good because it runs along the fascia. It doesn't run across. So it's called delaminating, where it sort of peels off a bit rather than tears across. I'm still meant to run. I've just got to be very, very, very I've got to really rein things back. So I think I'm doing like 10 lots of 3 minutes running, 1 minute walking. That's all I'm allowed to do at the moment.
I know that run form is different for different people. Everyone has their own, but how do you run? Where does you land? Do you land forefoot, midfoot, heel strike?
Probably a bit of mid.
What is
midfoot? I don't heel strike anymore.
No.
I've got the orthotics as well, and that's I think what I've noticed since I put the orthotics, because I've always been pretty anti-orthotics. So I don't want to be that guy who wears orthotics. I want to.
Same here. I've got this natural aversion to it.
I want to I always thought of them as like a Band-Aid. I don't want a Band-Aid. I want a cure. And so when I finally went and saw the podiatrist, because I was sick of this, I was like, for fuck's sake, I just need to be able to run properly because my running has just gone backwards. He basically said to me, because I was like straight up front, I was like, mate, I'm doing this. I ain't happy about it. I don't want to do this. I don't want to wear orthotics. And he goes, I understand what you're saying, but he goes, these orthotics will actually cure the problem. It's not a Band-Aid. It is a cure. Because he said often what these problems are caused by is some sort of imperfection in how we run, walk, whatever it is. And there's an undue amount of pressure somewhere. So for me, it was like I've got a slightly I pronate on my left foot a lot. Anyway, so this orthotic takes that pressure off, and he said it won't fix it. Like it's not instant. You put these things on, amazing. But he goes, what it does is it deloads the area that's overloaded and allows the rest of the body to start to fix itself. I was like, okay, I'll give it a go. Put them in, and I'm like, instantly, you still feel the pain, but it feels protected. If that makes sense.
Interesting.
So running now, I've been running with them and I'm aware that there's something wrong, but it's not like this, like it's not as bad, if that makes sense. And it's funny. God, people love this like injury talk and stuff. I've always had really, really, I mean, my calves are humongous. I've got these massively overdeveloped calves that are super tight.
Did you tell the podiatrist that you calf raise 110 kilograms? Was he impressed with that? You go around telling everybody that?
Yeah, he said I was off he actually was shocked. He's like, that's like top 1%. I was like, okay. But when I was using the Theragun on my legs, there's normally this, it's like the inside of my calf is normally like, don't even look at it. It's so bad. And it's like much looser now since I've started wearing the orthotics and stuff. So
The
whatever
body,
it
the body
is
is a one big kinetic chain, mate. That's what we are. You know, you ease
exactly.
something somewhere, and it starts to ease up elsewhere. You know,
But
tension builds.
I've got a sports doctor appointment. The reason we're recording where we're recording today is because I'm going to go see it in 12 hours. I'll be at the sports doctor finding out what the
All right.
So I probably my physio says I'll probably have to do PRP injections again.
Okay.
Which
Yeah.
again, I'm a big baby and I'm terrified of needles, so I don't love this. And I know that when I had them in my hamstring a couple of years ago, man, it's like 24 hours afterwards is rough. I'm thinking, this is my foot. How the fuck? I'm not going to be able to walk for like a day. I'm going to be bedbound for 24 hours.
I mean, luckily you can get home. You own a PlayStation 4.
5.
Is it 5? You own a PlayStation 5, and you got a sofa, and you've got, you know, Des will bring you cups of coffee and cook your food and stuff for a day or so.
Hopefully we're on the back on the road to recovery, because again, running is, of the 3 sports, running is my favorite. I love it.
Yeah.
And to not be like to the point where I actually just cannot do it or could not do it. I think
we're meant to be doing a marathon in Europe at some point this year, aren't we? Whenever you're over.
Fingers crossed, mate, that it actually. Yeah.
We'll find one.
Des is doing a marathon when I'm over.
She?
Des is, she's doing one in Norway, Oslo Marathon.
Is she? What's the what will it be, cold, or what's the crack in Oslo?
No, it'll be lovely. September in Norway is autumn, so be nice, brisk, probably 15 degrees or something. It's the same. I'll be in London at a Bucks party, and she'll be in Oslo running a marathon. It's the weekend after Nice. It's funny that trip's worked out really, really well for me, because I'm in Europe for work with Phoenix. We're going to we'll be hosting a futures camp at the World Athletics Championships in Budapest in August. And then I'm going to duck over I'll probably be in one of the Super League races, go to Girona for a bit, and then up to Nice or down to Nice or wherever it is for the Ironman World Championships, and then to the UK. So it's going to be a pretty good little trip there in August, September. But
yeah, man.
Yeah. This podcast is the official podcast of MX Endurance, the world's premier endurance sports community, created by 4-time world champion Chris McCormack. Jimbo, mate, you've asked about my injury. What's new in your world? What's happening? I'm definitely stalling for time.
Oof, yeah, what's happening? Well, mate, I'm running a fair amount, which is nice. I'm lifting a fair amount of weights. I haven't touched a bike since, who knows, some point in 2022. Your bike? I sold my TT bike for the moment. I did, yeah, it's gone. I took the view that having a very, very high value TT bike devaluing itself in the few years I'm not going to be doing triathlon, and maybe not coming back to it was, not sensible. So got rid of it while it's still worth something. And then if I come back to the sport in a few years, I'll obtain whatever is the newest, shiniest thing at that point, mate. It'll probably be a Ventum, knowing me.
Well, the thing is that Specialized is actually going to be a collector's edition, mate, because we know that Specialized have ceased their operations in triathlon. I think they stopped making the Shiv, like, what was it, a year ago or so, or 2 years ago? They've sold their wind tunnel. We saw a number of Specialized athletes get dropped this year, and it seemed this is one of the things we're talking about before we hit record, where it seems like Canyon is signing everybody left, right, and center at the moment. It's actually like, it's funny because we were talking to Canyon last 2021, and they're like, "Oh, look, as a brand, we've really decided that what we want to do is offer really high quality service to the handful of athletes that we work with. So we're actually going to pull back and focus on a smaller number of athletes." This year, they're just like, fucking everybody, you get a bike, you get a bike, you get a bike.
Specialized are going to be more focused on e-bikes. That's the way the market's going, isn't it? And gravel is becoming a big thing, but e-bikes are the biggest section of the consumer market at the moment, because they're, for the first time, they make cycling accessible to absolutely anyone who wants to do it. It's no longer constrained by your willingness to be fit to be able to do it. If you want to.
And I believe that I think I can't remember who told me this. It might have been Chris, but I think Specialized basically identified that they were really far behind the rest of the field in terms of e-bikes. They were just like, if you look at the other brands, they've all sort of got quite a good handle on e-bikes, and we don't. So we're going to put all that effort into e-bikes. And it's interesting because we heard this like years ago at this point.
We did,
and we didn't believe it.
No, well, that's because we heard it at the back end of what was, the Specialized tidal wave, wasn't it? Where every fucker and their wife was riding those bikes with the big sail on the back, the one that I've just sold. it seemed like it was the big thing, and then at the end of that year, we heard that Specialized were going to be ducking out of triathlon, and we were like, "Well, that surprises us," but it has happened. It's taken a little bit of time to transpire, but it has happened.
Yeah, the whole thing seems a bit weird. I've seen what I find weird is the conversations you have with the brands. Like we all know, everybody who's listening to this will appreciate and understand the challenges around bikes and bike parts during the last couple of years. It was almost impossible to find a new bike.
And it still is hard. I mean, people I speak to, someone I spoke to today at length is saying that, supply chains still aren't where they should be. They're still prioritizing certain brands in some of the big factories. And you've got to use your elbows to get in there and get the stuff that you want, especially if you're building frames that aren't just, if you're building bespoke frames, then you need to, it's a hard road at the moment, and it will be for a while.
Yeah. What I find interesting though is we know that the bike industry boomed. So, there's been more bikes sold, whatever. And I actually think that we are going to see, there's going to be a drop off because even people who don't want a bike are going to have these bikes, and they're going to want to offload their bikes. So many people must have bought these high spec road and triathlon bikes during the pandemic who've literally used the thing once and been like, I don't need this. I don't want this. I'll sell it cheap. You were one?
I got my TT bike just before the pandemic kicks off, which was late 2019. Yeah. I raced it once in that 2 years, It was, and if COVID hadn't happened, I'd have raced all through 2020 and all through 2021 because I had all those races lined up. But it did, and then I spent 2 years with a high-end TT bike sat in my loft.
Well, that's what I find interesting. You had the bike industry go through this big boom, and what I like about Canyon, obviously, there's been quite a lot of articles and news around their value and people investing, and I think LeBron James invested in the company. Like Canyon's going from strength to strength. I am very happy to see that they are putting that money back into the sport, because what I sort of expected is brands to be like, we don't need to sponsor pro triathletes or pro cyclists or whatever because we're clearly doing well. I think there is an element of that with some other brands. So to see a brand like Canyon is fantastic because so many other brands are going, we're actually pulling back on sponsorship. And I really feel like you see these, this is a very long way of getting to what I was going to say, is if you look through the history of the sport, we've seen these waves where one brand will really go hard and then they'll pull out, and then another brand will come really hard and then they'll pull out, and it's never moderate. Like you never just see, like, I kind of envision this world where each brand has their 10 or so athletes and they sort of all just plug along, where, as you said, a few years ago, it was specialized. Every man and his dog was specialized. And then that went away. And then now it's Canyon. But even from an age group point of view, you see the influence. Like anybody who says that pro athletes have no influence in terms of who buys what it's a fallacy, because there was that period where Crowe and Macca and every man and his dog was on Specialized, and you'd go to every race, everybody be on a Shiv. And then there was a period there. Well, now you look, every race, everything's Canyon. Like there's clearly a direct response from, I see the guy that I love. I see Jan Frodeno or Lionel Sanders doing whatever they do on their Canyon. I want that. I think it's clearly evident that there is value in these big name athletes and stuff, and it's interesting. I'm curious to see where things go.
What I think really works for Canyon is that they've removed, I know that it's not great for independent bike shops, but they're a direct sale model. So they've removed that problematic link, which was, I say problematic. It's not problematic to have a local bike shop you can go and talk to and interact with. What was problematic during the pandemic was siphoning all your materials through the local bike shops out to the public. It was an extra chain of difficulty, whereas Canyon are a direct to consumer model, which in these times worked quite well.
Which I also find funny, because that was sort of their competitive advantage when they started up. It was like, we're direct to consumer, which means the cost is lower because you don't have to pay that markup that the bike shops. So everyone's like, great, Canyon's this. And then somewhere along the line, they're like, actually, we're going to charge you just as much as your local bike shop. But the bike's not built. You have to build it yourself. And yeah, people just like, yeah, okay, we love it. Like, thank you so much. Like, I do find that very well done, Canyon. Well done.
It is as the consumer bike market is fucking ridiculous nowadays, though. I mean, you can buy a bike for the same price that you would buy a moderately sized car for. And I don't want to sound like an old man. Yeah, I don't want to sound like an old man, but it is silly that a top end push bike can cost 16, 17, 18,000 pounds. It's silly. That's too much. It's not reasonable.
We
But
can, yeah.
we're in that's the way it is. People with disposable income will pay it. But the problem is those that haven't won't.
Yeah, so Canyon making lots of sponsorship moves, which is great. Again, I love to see it. I love to see brands invest in the sport, and yeah, again, I think it'd be good at Nice when we see some other brands present other than just Canyon and Hoka. It'd be good.
Yeah,
see
man.
Some other brands present.
And we've done 15 minutes and we haven't even started on the deck yet. Hey, how are we doing?
We're doing pretty well. Well, let's get into some of the few things that we have to talk about this week. And one of them, I thought a good place to start is to talk about one of our favorite athletes. Somebody we have to get him back on the show this year, actually, because I love talking with Sebastian Kienle.
Yeah, so, what a man! What a man!
The great man. You told me that after because I didn't when you interviewed me like 2 years ago, I couldn't make the interview, and you said that even after you finished recording, he stayed on the phone with you for like another half an hour, and you just
he didn't stop. It was organic. It was like the interview finished, and we just kept chatting, and it was. I started to feel like, oh God, am I keeping him? Am I keeping him? But every time I tried to sort of, gently end the conversation to let him off the hook, so you don't have to talk to me anymore, Sebi, he just kept shooting the breeze. It was really enjoyable chat.
So we know that Sebastian came out last year and announced that he's going to be 2023 is his last year of professional racing. So what he wants to do is a grand farewell tour, I guess you can call it, where he wants to race the races that he wants to race around the world, and then he's sort of done, I guess. We know that he's going to New Zealand at the start of this year. He's going to do Wanaka 70.3, by all accounts, one of the most beautiful 70.3 races in the world. Then he's going to go and do Ironman New Zealand. Again, the second oldest Ironman in the history of the sport. It was the next Ironman to be announced after the original Ironman Hawaii. He's also announced that he's going to be racing one of the most iconic iron distance races this year in August in Norway at the Norseman. Now, James, this is a race that is near and dear to your heart. You were meant to be. You had a spot for this year that you have now turned down. Does the news that Sebastian Kienle will be there make you like? Is that probably the reason you're like, well, I had the win in the bag, but now that Sebastian's there, it's probably just as well that
I did have the win in the bag. Obviously, what's his name? Jean Beervold doesn't worry me in the slightest. But if
Jan
Brevold, that's it. John, fucking Jan. If Sebi's going, then there's obviously an issue there. I would probably lose. But no, look, Norseman is a fantastic race. It's a race that I have looked at and wanted to race in for years and years and years. Unfortunately, my turn to do it came along at a time where I was having a bit of a midlife crisis, I suppose, and stepping away from the sport and not feeling like I would do it justice. If I pushed on this year and took that slot, I wouldn't have been in the right place to do it justice and do myself proud there. So I turned that down. But it's amazing that he's going to go and do Norseman. I think he is a fantastic athlete. What a career this man has had. And, if you're going to do a year of some of the best races in the world, then Norseman has got to be on that list, hasn't it?
I don't know if I forget the conversations that I have with people on and off air. But last year in Kona, when I was obviously with Joe, I was sort of giving Joe splits. And there was a point as they were coming back from the Energy Lab, we were back on the Queen K. And I'd spent a fair bit of time with Philip, Sebastian's coach, Laura Philip's husband, Philip Sepp. And I just realized her last name is his first name. And he was obviously cheering for Sebi, and I was with Joe, and we kept crisscrossing each other. And we, at one point, Joe's gone past, and we've cheered him. I'm like, Joe, you've got a minute. You're ahead of Sebastian or whatever. And then Sebastian comes past, and I'm like, yo, Sebi. And he's like, fucking catch him, Sebi, get him. And he looks at me, he's like, oh, sorry about that. And I'm like, no, mate, it's phenomenal. It's actually it's amazing. So I absolutely love Sebastian Kienle, but I love the fact that he is like just doing this grand tour this year. It's so. I wish more people did this sort of thing. Like I feel like we see that there's sort of two paths out of the sport for the professionals, where it's either, and I'm no disrespect here, I'm not trying to disrespect anybody, but you see the sort of Crowe exit where there's never an exit, and it's just this.
He hasn't exited, is he?
I don't know, but it's like exactly they sort of just fizzle out. They sort of fizzle out. They do some races. They sort of don't do Ironman anymore. Then they just do, and they don't really. They're just gone. They're just they're gone. Or you have the I'm done. That was my last race. I'm done. So I really like that we're seeing this. Like, you know what? I actually want to celebrate this sport that I love, and I'm going to go and do the races that I want to do. And trust me, if we have him going to all these iconic races around the world, like Sebastian Kienle doing Norseman, Sebastian Kienle doing Challenge Wanaka, Sebastian Kienle doing Ironman New Zealand, that's a big deal. It's a big deal for those races. It means people who maybe have never had the opportunity to share the course with Sebastian Kienle, as we hear ad nauseum, is the biggest benefit of the sport. The people are going to have the opportunity to go and share a course with Sebastian or pay more attention to a race that maybe they haven't paid that much attention before. Like there's so much up from Sebastian doing this, and I would love to see more athletes do it. I know that we've seen that Jan is like, this is technically his last year. I hope he does something similar next year, where he's just like, I'm going to go and pick the races I want to do, and then go to Kona and race the Norwegians. But yeah, I think Kienle doing this is great, and I'm actually really excited to see the other races that he does. Now, the thing I wanted to add here, because you spoke about Jan Brevhold earlier, and I love that there was a quote where he said, "I will teach Sebastian Kienle a lesson in uphill running."
Yeah, I did see that. Where he said, we'll likely be close to each other until the bottom of Zombie Hill. When we start at the 1,600-meter climb up the mountain, I will teach Sebastian Kienle a lesson in uphill running. What a cool quote that is, and I love that. That adds an extra little bit of spice going into the race. But you're damn right about this amazing tour that he's doing, because it harkens back to the old days of triathlon a little bit, where it was just you raced the race you wanted to race, irrespective of distance or location. You went where you wanted to race, and you had the fun that you wanted to have. And I get the impression that he's doing this for him. It's kind of like a tribute to the sport from him. The shackles are off. He's not bound by, what he's guided to race by being the pro athlete that he is, where should I go? What should I do to try and optimize my year? He's just going, no, you know what? I'm just going to go and race where I want to race and when I want to race, and just have the experiences that, he's had some amazing experiences in his career. But as a pro athlete, you're constrained by the professionalism of your sport. So he's probably missed some experiences that age groupers would often get, which is to go and just choose races and go for the fun of it. And that's what he's doing. And it's great. It's great to see it.
You make an excellent point there, actually, because while you were speaking, I was thinking the same thing. Like, I am by no stretch any sort of professional athlete, but I've even gone to the point with my racing where living in Australia's really far from everywhere, and there's the 6 races in Australia. And the first probably 6 or 7 years of me doing this sport, I would just go and do the races in Australia. I'd go to Sunny Coast, I do Western Sydney, I do Taupo. And I've got to a point where I'm like, I actually don't want to race. I don't want to just keep doing the same races or the races for the sake of it. Like, when I do races now, I want to go and do the races that I want to do. And I think it's so freeing. And it's funny because I talk to so many of my friends. I'm like, oh, I've signed up for Hawaii 70.3. Like, come do it with me. And they're just like, no, I don't. I'm going to do Western Sydney 70.3 out in fucking Penrith. I'm like this. The beauty of this sport, I think, is the fact that we have these incredible events in some amazing locations, and so many people who do this sport, like, almost they take it so seriously. Like, I feel like there's not many other amateur sports out there that has a similar level of professionalism to triathlon. But with that professionalism comes this, they take it super serious, and they're like, no, I will not go and do that bucket list race in an amazing location because it doesn't suit my training program, and I can train on the course. Because I find that it's the number of athletes I speak to when I go in, because I've raced around the world and I love it. I've done some amazing things. The number of people who like, oh, I can't believe you did that. It's like, I can't believe you haven't. Like, there's so much to be gained from. Like, I love, one of the things me and my wife do is every year I'll get Des to pick a spot to go. Like, where would you like to go this year? And then we try to find a race there. And then we normally have a holiday afterwards. And it's phenomenal. And I've been to some incredible places, and I've seen some incredible things, and I've had these incredible different experiences doing, like, I never would have imagined racing in America would be so different to racing in Australia. Like, but they're completely different experiences, just like racing in Europe is different and racing in Asia is different. And so I love that Sebi's actually just going to be like, I'm going to, as you say, I'm doing this because I want to do it, not because I'm a pro still, but I'm not doing this motivated by my profession.
Yeah, he's not motivated by trying to get the best result out of himself in 1 or 2 races in the year. He just wants to go and have some fun in these races. Yeah, he probably wants to go and try and win Norseman, but it's not like he's going to gear his entire season to peak at Norseman. Like you say, I mean, I many years ago stopped racing in the UK because I just got fed up with it. I got fed up with swims being cancelled. I got fed up with being cold. I got fed up with bike courses being halved because of weather. And obviously I've stopped racing for the moment, but I would, like you, I would pick races in different places every year, and I'd go somewhere interesting and new. I'm still doing the same now with ultra marathons, so it's that is the beauty of it for me. And I think if we go down this rabbit hole a little bit of talking about the age group ranks, I think a lot of people miss out on the experience side of the sport by trying too hard to act like a professional. And they'll look back at 20 years time and go, you know what, I missed out on doing some awesome races because I was too busy trying to tear up and down my local dual carriageway as fast as I could.
I also feel like that's the reason we see such a high churn rate in the sport. Is it because there's this? I've probably said this before, and I see
Can
you.
you hear the clicking?
I can see you. I know you're watching this on YouTube right now. I'm talking to you, YouTube watcher, who's typing this comment on our YouTube video. I get it, but because the gap between the pro and the amateur seems pretty small, but in reality, it's fucking huge. Like that, but people see it as obtainable. So I'm going to go pro. I'm going to do it, and they realize about a year into that journey just how fucking hard it actually is to get those little tiny gains, and they burn out and they give up. And it's like I still feel like the sport would be if we could all just lose that. And again, I understand that because there's pros and there's not pros, but just be like, fucking hell, how good is this sport? I'm just going to do it. I'm going to do the best I can do. I'm going to travel. I'm going to have these incredible experiences. I'm going to get a group of my friends who also do the sport. We're going to go to Hawaii 70.3, or we're going to go to Cozumel, or we're going to go to Montenegro, or we're going to go to Lanzarote, or wherever these races are, and just have a good time doing it, push ourselves to the absolute limit, train together, get as ready as we can, and not just sit there and go, well, I was 0.6% down on my power and my run efficiency was down and I took my lactate strips before the right. There's so much now that I think gets in the way of the actual enjoyment of the sport. And I feel like if we could capture that a bit better.
You're preaching to the converted, mate, because I mean, that's we've discussed offline enough why I've taken to trail running and ultra marathons so much, because it gets rid of, it strips away all that. And I just get to go and run around in the forests and not worry about all the details and the pace and who's beating who and the talking more than you're listening. It's nice.
I love it. Like I still love my train. I train hard. Like again, I want to be the best athlete I can be, but I'm also not like, I don't know what the word. I take it seriously again, but I'm not there going. If I had a bad race in Bahrain and I wasn't upset, I would have loved to go on fast. Turns out I had a torn plantar, but I was like, fuck, I'm in Bahrain. I get to have a cool experience here. Like it's just it's refreshing.
You don't start every sentence with actually, do you?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Let's have a quote from Sebastian Kienle before we move on, because when he was asked about this race, he said many sports have a mecca. Alpine skiing has Kitzbühel and tennis has Wimbledon. For extreme triathlon, Norseman is the mecca. I have to say that it was no easy decision. I definitely am a little scared of the race. I think even the best athletes in the world look at this and say this is a little crazy. For me, it is the ultimate challenge. I will do everything to win Norseman, and I believe it will be a head-to-head until 25 kilometers of the run. When running up Zombie Hill, anything can happen, but I will give it all to take the win. Now that's his quote, but I couldn't quite do it. He's got the coolest voice in the world, isn't he? I didn't feel like it emulate that.
Was it Mikkel Eden last year, Gustav's brother, who got a call up to do the Norseman like a week out, and he's like, yeah, I'll do it. And he just did the best he could, and then went and did it, and he came like fourth or something.
Yeah.
That's it. That's the only way you get me to do that race. Be like, hey, I'm in Norway the same week as. Do you want to do it? Here's an entry. Oh, okay, I'll give it a go.
Yeah. If I'd have been there, if I'd have been doing it, you would have been on my support team. Let's say I break my leg 3 days before, you'd have stepped in.
Yeah, I think
that would have got you to do it.
Yeah, exactly. Let's stick with racing, because we actually have a race happening this weekend. As hard as that is to believe, mate, we are starting to see some racing open up, and it is a new race in Australia. This race was announced last year, and it is the inaugural Tasmania 70.3. Now, James Bale, do you know where Tasmania is?
Yeah, man, it's the little place off the bottom.
the West Island of New Zealand.
Yeah, it's a tiny little place, isn't it? It's about the size of Devon.
I actually don't know. I think it's probably the same size as the UK, isn't it?
I don't know. It looks small, doesn't it, compared to Australia?
Yeah, Australia's huge, mate. Australia's like one of the biggest land masses. Anyway, so we got the inaugural Tasmania 70.3, and while you might just think this is just another Australian race, it actually has some pretty incredible names on that start list. So I thought we'd do a little bit of a preview. Again, not going into too much detail, but the names that I was really excited to see I knew that Charlie Quinn was going to be. So I work with Charlie. Charlie won Noosa Triathlon last year. He won Laguna Phuket Triathlon and came second in his 70.3 debut. But Charlie is going to be there, which is exciting. But we also have Braden Curry, who we know came third in St. George at the Ironman World Championships last year. We also have Josh Amberger, who we know when he's on is one of the best athletes in the world. And interestingly, the other one I really like is we have Jake Birtwistle making his 70.3 debut. Now, we know Jake has
hometown
done,
kid, eh?
Correct. Tasmanian, loves Tasmania, doesn't like to leave Tasmania.
Probably the only race he's going to do, isn't it? Every year, I assume. He's not a huge fan of stepping out of his home country, is he?
He's frothing at the fact there's one probably on his. He probably helped create the course and made it that it was like as near to his place as possible. No, so we got Jake Birtwistle making his 70.3 debut. So there's a lot of talent in that men's field. How do you think this men's race is going to go? Like, what do you see? Now, it's a challenging course. I think it nearly has 1,000 meters of climbing, so it's not your typical fast and flat course. It's a tough course.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised to see Jake Birtwistle do very, very well. He's a very fast and talented athlete. Forgive my ignorance, but is Tasmania? Is it a country or is it
it's a state of Australia?
It's a state, is it? Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm excited to see how Jake Birtwistle does. Is there a women's pro field as well?
There is, which we'll talk about after.
Okay, so we haven't got there yet.
Yeah.
I mean, I think Braden Curry will do well. I'd like to see Jake take. I got a soft spot for Jake. I find him. He's a very genuine and friendly person. He's a unique cat. He's someone that always amuses me whenever I've spoken to him, whenever I've interacted with him, and I'd like to see him do well. And especially because it's Tasmania, and I just can't imagine how happy he would be to win that race in Tasmania.
Yeah, I know. I always think that when we see these short course guys sort of stepping up to try the longer distance, a lot rides on that first experience. Like if he has a really bad day, that could be it. Like he could be, I'm fucking done with this.
Will he? What do you know? What bike he's riding? I can't remember.
He's on BMC, so I'm assuming he's on the
so he'll be
BMC
on the
time machine.
Yeah. Okay.
If he has a good experience here, because again, I think Jake Birtwistle is extremely talented. I've always gotten the impression with Jake Birtwistle though that he's not he's kind of like that Andre Agassi. He does it because he's good at it, not because he necessarily loves it. I think one time I spoke with him, I'm like, do you follow, try and stuff? He's like, no, not really. It's my job. So I feel like that there is the potential here that if he takes to this, like he could be another Ash Gentle in the sense that he's got that incredibly strong run.
You nailed that quote then, when he's like that you sounded just like him because he hasn't got that enthusiasm and that sort of energy about the sport. So like you say, this first experience has to prove to him that it is a worthwhile endeavor. Yeah. It's not going to be a passion project for him. He's not going to, if it transpires that it's going to be a huge amount of effort, beyond the effort that pro sports people normally put. I'm not saying it's not effort, but you know what I mean? Like it's going to be a real work to get himself to the level where he's competing over the long course, middle distance or long course. Then I can't see his personality being one that would stick it out for too long. So he has to see that this is a sort of worthwhile endeavor and a financially viable one as well.
I also want to give, again, not the fact that I work with Charlie but like Charlie Quinn's another athlete that I feel like a lot of people are going to start noticing a lot more this year. So Charlie was a guy who was sort of just on the cusp of making the Australian team. Like he's been federation supported a bit, but not quite able to break through at the short course racing. And last year, Charlie made the decision to fully commit to middle distance and long distance racing. And like literally, he did his first 70.3. And I think he blew up at like 15K because he was running like 3:10, like just some crazy pace. And he's like, I didn't realize it would like get that hard. It's like, mate, it's 21K. It's double an Olympic distance race. But I feel like Charlie's another athlete that we're going to see. Like I was very excited to sign with Charlie Quinn the end of last year because I really see him as, like, again, that wave of athlete who's gone through the system, who has been a triathlete for their junior life. They've gone through that national federation and to now sort of go, I'm fucking sick of the bullshit. I'm sick of the bureaucracy. I'm sick of the drama of trying to deal with the federation. I'm just going to go it on my own. Quite Macca-esque in a way. Like I really think we're going to see a lot from Charlie this year. So he's another athlete that I'm excited. And also, I think I've neglected Steve McKenna's also doing this race, because I know that Steve was down there doing a recon a couple of days ago, and he's another Australian athlete who is fire. But Josh Amberger, he's another one that I feel like Josh is. I actually saw Josh put up a post this week where he was like, a lot of people have been asking me, am I still racing? And he's like, fucking earth, I'm still racing. Like, why does everybody think I'm not racing? I would love to see Josh get it right, because I feel like Josh is another one of those athletes who was on the precipice of being considered, like, you know, in that top tier of pro athletes. And he's sort of, the last few years, sort of dwindled, like to the point where I didn't actually know if he was still right. I wasn't sure. So to see that he is, I hope he gets it right.
Do you think a mullet like that is aerodynamic?
No, it's super aerodynamic. Like everything about it. Like he is. I saw, like, what did I see? So I don't know if you saw around Kona last year. He was doing those content videos where, like, it was very different. It was a bit of fun, and he was, you know, holding up signs and stuff, and sort of heckling other pros or whatever. And I saw one of the comments referred to Josh Amberger as a stand-up comedian sponsored by Specialized. I thought that was pretty funny, because he's a very, very funny character. But again,
is he still with Specialized, or have they pulled the plug on him as well?
They pulled the plug as well.
Interesting. I wonder what's he riding now? Do you know?
I think he's still riding the Specialized bikes, because it's honestly, it's grim out there at the moment with bike deals. Like,
oh yeah.
But again, I'd love to see Josh do well. We know that means it's going to be a fast swim, because obviously Josh and Jake and Charlie are going to be there. Those guys can swim. And then you got, like, the Braden Curry, who is such a legend of the sport and so tough as nails. This sort of course is going to really suit him. He's in Wanaka. It's a tough place. It's hilly. I think Braden's going to be, you know, very, very competitive there as well. So
who's your pick?
I'm Charlie Quinn, mate. I completely unbiased.
Then I'm gonna put my weight behind Jake. Come on, Jakey boy, you can do it.
I love it. The reason that we sort of didn't really get to the women's race so much is because it's Ellie Solhouse, and I think it's Ellie Solhouse. That's about the only name on that list that I think can really do any damage.
As you know, I'm a big Ellie Solhouse fan, so
I think we both are. She's fantastic.
Go on, Ellie.
So, and again, I feel like Ellie's had a rough. Again, talking about athletes who've sort of not had the results that they want. Like, Ellie is, again, one of those middle distance specialists who is very good at the middle distance. And we've not really seen her have the success that I think she is owed or capable of. I hope that this is the start of a really big year for Ellie Solhouse, because I want to see, Ellie's name, I think, should be amongst those that we talk about, those 70.3 specialists, the Emma Pallant-Browns, the Taylor Nibbs, the Ash Gentles, the Paula Finlays. I think you need to throw, like, Ellie belongs in that echelon. And hopefully that she has a year that's this year that sort of puts her back into that level. So
agreed.
Ellie Solhouse, that's my pick pretty much straight away for the women's race.
I echo that one.
I mean, you'd be a madman to go against it. I don't know who else. I don't know who else there really would be that would threaten. But yeah, it's exciting. Moving on, mate. Again, slim pickings this week, but I did see something that I thought was worth talking about a little bit. It was a start point for a conversation. It was an interview in Tri 24/7. I think an article, and it was written by Thomas Land, and he was talking with the Norwegian boys, Christian Gustav, who, I don't know if you've gone through. I mean, I know you did, because I saw what you put in the doc. But I swear to God, 90% of the triathlon coverage at the moment is about Christian Gustav. Like,
all of it. I mean,
mental.
If you go on Tri 24/7, I mean, brilliant journalism. Go on Tri 24/7 and have a look. But it's hard to find an article that doesn't reference the Norwegian method, Gustav or Christian, who's sponsoring Gustav or Christian. It's like the whole triathlon world seems to hang on what they're up to. You know, it just goes to show the success that they've had and the way that success is rippling through the sport. But you know, you'd think there'd be a few articles that didn't contain Gustav and Christian a little bit.
Well, I think even I saw the Alistair Brownlee one, and even that was referencing Norwegians. And I was like,
And I deleted that bit from the title I left in the doc, because I didn't want to talk about the Norwegians on that front. But you're right. Go on, carry on. Tell me about this article that you found.
I don't want to go into it too much, because they were talking about this Norwegian method. But the key line that I saw they wrote, and I saw that Tri 24/7 tweeted this out, and like, are they talking about anybody in particular? Like, wink, wink. Was, you can't just copy and paste what we do. And I thought that was like very, very interesting.
Is that a dig at our favorite triathlete, do you think?
I think it might be, mate. Or not even just him, because one of the phenomena we saw last year or in the last 18 months, not just professionally but in age groups too, is like this idea that the Norwegians are doing something very, very different to the rest of the world. Like I tell the story all the time where somebody reached out and they're like, "Hey, I know you lived in Norway. Do you know any Norwegian coaches?" And I go, "I mean, yeah, I do. How come?" "Oh, I want a Norwegian coach." It's like, again, mate,
madness. That's madness.
That's not what makes, like, their nationality isn't what makes. Like, I know very bad coaches in Norway, so don't think that because man, I tell you what, I'd love it. How funny would it be if you are like the crappiest coach in Norway, like the Norwegian method? Come get it. Like, I've got you. Ka-ching, exactly. $1,000 a month for the Norwegian method. But yeah, so they basically said you can't just copy and paste it, because we saw Lionel Sanders famously started working with Michael Eden. We saw Rudy von Berg switch to Michael Eden. We saw Colin Chartier switch to Michael Eden, as well as others. What do you think that they're referencing? Someone in particular, mate?
Yeah, I mean, look, I think what they're probably saying is that, this is putting words and thoughts into their mouths here, okay? But if I was them and everybody was just saying, "Oh, it's just the Norwegian method, we just need to copy that, we'd be as good," my response would be, don't forget that I'm part of this as well. And don't forget that it's not just the method that we're using. You're almost disregarding athletic talent, or sort of genetic athletic talent, or willingness to work, or training, your sort of motivation to train, your willingness to train, your consistency as an athlete. If all it is the methodology that any athlete could step into, follow that format and find the success, it'd be a bit like, oh, come on, don't forget I am part of this as well, and there might be something special about me or us that is also bringing this to the table.
I also think it's worth noting that these guys, there's always this obsession with like quick changes and short sort of improvements and you often see that when an athlete changes coaches, there's a new stimulus, so they suddenly go, "Fucking hell, I've overcome a plateau," or whatever. These boys have been trained in the same way since they were like 14 years old. And yes, there's been this meteoric rise since probably, 2019, where I think it really started to kick off. Probably maybe 2018 when we saw, 2017, where we saw them, they did that incredible performance 1-2 at Bahrain. They had the clean sweep of the podium, and then it's just gone 2019, Gustav, Christian, Gustav. Like, it's just gone crazy. So you see these athletes who've switched, like, okay, I want to drink the Kool-Aid, but they've not seen the immediate results. Because again, what this is a sort of long way about of getting to is the fact that we've now heard that, and again, I've had confirmation from other people, not the actual people involved, that Lionel Sanders and Michael Eden are no longer working together. And I've looked at, we talk a lot about Lionel Sanders on this podcast, and people say we hate him. I don't. I'm a humongous Lionel Sanders fan. I get frustrated because I see him do things like this where it's like, when I heard he was working with Mikel, I was like, fucking yes. Like, here we go. He's actually going to really listen. We're going to see a systematic approach, and came second at St. George. These things take time. And you're right. Like, the element of what those guys do also has to play a huge factor, because people criticize the Norwegians for a lot of things. So they say, oh, they don't have girlfriends, or they don't drink alcohol, or they don't do this, or they don't do that, or you can only talk to them about sport. That's all part of it too. You can't just take one part of the Norwegian method, which is follow the train and use the lactate strips and get all the technology you want, when you then neglect the other 80% of it.
The however many years of consistency. I mean, the most important thing you can do in a sport to become good at it is consistently do the same thing week in, week out, with sort of a progressive overload in your training and rest weeks. But you are doing the same shit week in, week out until you're good at it. Variation is for those with a weak mind, mate. Consistency is for those that want to improve.
And having faith in the process. That's the other thing as well. Like, I feel like now this is me putting, I literally have nothing to base this on. This is purely observation.
Love it. Speculation corner. Let's go.
But this is a bit of a pattern we've seen with somebody like a Lionel Sanders, for example, where I look back, and I was talking with Joe about this the other day, where Lionel Sanders 2017, we saw him go fucking kaboom, second in Kona, had that incredible Arizona race, and then 2018 the wheels started to fall off. he had that race against Jan in Oceanside, and Jan, like we're talking about, Lionel was the best 70.3 athlete in the world at that point, I think. Like he was incredible. And then Jan beat him in Oceanside, and we saw him have this sort of like crisis of character where he went vegan and he did all this stuff, and he left his coach, and then he went back to his coach and all these sort of things. And since then, there's been this pattern where Lionel's become quite reactive. Like, I mean, I said it even before he ever started working with Mikkel. You could see him constantly referencing the Norwegians in his videos and things like that. But there's always this, like I said, I feel like that last video I saw him do, which was a while ago now, where he basically said, "I've got a finite amount of time. I can't." There's probably truth to it, but I still feel like if he had have trusted the process, trusted that taken in all of the stuff that Mikkel had him doing, I feel like we really would have seen a very different and much improved Lionel. Because I feel like the thing that we're going to get, Lionel might get to the end of his career, and again, I don't know this, but those constant changes and pivots might have gotten in the way of what could have been like true greatness. And not to say that he's not great. He's finished second at the Ironman World Championships twice. He is a champion, like a fucking killer athlete. But we've yet to see him sort of just go that little bit further. And I worry that those constant changes and reactive, panic's not the right word, but like reaction to external stimulus has gotten in the way of that a little bit. And that's why I get a little bit like, fuck, mate, you were there. You were close. You could have. And again, I don't know what's going on behind the scenes. Maybe it was just completely incompatible, but.
I'm going to make a dangerous reference now. But take this out of the context of the really dodgy stuff, like the really dodgy shit. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about, I think he reminds me a bit of Lance Armstrong in 2010 now, where he's reaching a little bit beyond where he actually is, and it's not working. So he's changing and changing and changing and changing, and mistakes are being made. That's the way I interpret it at the moment.
Is that a recent thing though, or do you think that's sort of the theme? See,
I agree with you. I think he's like yourself. When I heard he was going to be working with Miguel, I thought that there was a real opportunity there to settle down and bed into a system, do the settling down that you should have done years ago, and bed into an ideology. And this is, I'm going to believe in this way of doing it, and I am going to do it, and I'm going to trust in it, and let the cards fall as they may. But I feel like he's not choosing an ideology and sticking with it. He's trying to sort of search for the way that works, and not giving each time in each method enough time to find out whether it works or not. Consistency is key.
Yeah, and the point is, we've just sort of poo-pooed the fact that there is an actual Norwegian method, but from all reports, they have a specific way of doing things, and it isn't.
But so does every coach.
Correct,
and that's what we're seeing with the Norwegian method is just their way of coaching. Every coach has their method. Most coaches, if you look at the way most people coach, it's fairly similar. Consistently do the same thing week in, week out, and build towards your races. Just do the fucking work. What we're not seeing with Lionel is him buying into any particular methodology, and it's just frustrating because he's well good. He could be well good. He is well good. He could be
incredible.
Better.
Yeah. The other thing, like, because I don't want to just talk about Lionel here, I actually do want to talk a little bit about the Norwegians in this methodology. This week, I listened to their interview they did with Rich Roll on the Rich Roll podcast. I don't know if you listened. Have you listened to that one?
I've got it on my. I'm heading over to Europe first thing tomorrow morning, so I've got some long driving ahead of me. So I've got it.
It's funny how that lined up. That
we're
both listened to it like within a week of each other, and this is, and I mean,
we are synchronized, Mr. Ford.
We are the same person, one mind, two bodies. I feel like. And again, also not just that, but the fact that there is just so much Norwegian content at the moment. But the other thing I found, talking about the Norwegian methodology is Gustav Eden saying is, winning is a choice. That isn't just like, oh, I'm not going to lose. Like every single decision that they make is about being the best athlete in the world. Like, again, a peek behind the curtain in Bahrain after the 70.3 last year, I went go-karting with Vincent Louis, Henry Schoeman, Georgia Taylor Brown, Cassandra Beaugrand. And Christian was there, and Christian's like, nope, I'm not doing it. I'm like, what? He's like, it's too big a risk. And I was like, what do you mean? He's like, something could go wrong and I could hurt myself, and then that affects my racing. And you'd be like, come on, mate. Like, but I'm like, no, literally every single decision these guys make is to maximize their athletic performance. And I fucking think that's something like,
yeah, man. This is that quote, winning is a choice. People think that's a motivational quote for when you're in a race and you're struggling. You know, that's not the choice. That's not the moment you make the choice. The moment you make the choice is whether you get out of bed 6 months beforehand when you don't want to go running and it's raining, or whether you turn down that pint down the pub with your mates and have an early night. The choices that you make every day, these are the things that build up to that moment in the race, whether you can or cannot go on. The choice is out of your hands at that point. The choice is in your hands in the 6 months leading up to it, the 14 years leading up to it.
Everything. This is exactly right. And that's why I think that it's very easy to look at this one part of what they do. It's, the Norwegian method is the train or whatever, but there's so much more to these guys than that. Like, we've got two exceptional people. And it's not that they're like freaks. I mean, maybe Christian is, we know that he's got this like ridiculous VO2 or whatever, VO2 max. But it's just maybe what sets them apart is their commitment like that, because there's not a lot of people who would literally be willing to forego everything for the pursuit of maybe in other sports. Like, I feel like we're just suddenly seeing this very different approach to triathlon, because triathlon always has been like, I feel like it's sort of it's getting more professional and things are improving, and we're suddenly we've got these guys
you're starting to see them live the life of a professional cyclist.
Yeah.
You know, because they forgo everything. They forgo meals. You know, they forgo a comfortable, normal existence. They live like aliens.
Again, just listen to that, you'll find it. But like, hearing what their days are like, and they're like, they don't even have time for a massage or anything. They're just like, get up, eat, train, sleep, train, rest, train, go to bed. That's it. That's their life. That's it. There's nothing else.
Like, I mean, it does sound very similar to my days, to be honest.
I mean, it's true, mate. We know that you are. We've actually been working on the patent behind the scenes, but the Bell method. We're going to have a whole thing where people are going to want a Devon coach. They're going to go, do you know any coaches in Devon?
How many coaches in Devon? Yes. The Devon method.
The Devon method. But again, I don't want to just, there is this aura that seems to be around these guys at the moment. And I feel like the aura is good for them because it means people go approach them when they're racing and go, fucking hell, I don't know if we're going to be able to beat these guys, or like this mystique around it, where if you actually look at it objectively, it's not, I think it almost devalues what they do, because yes, they train hard and stuff, but it's every other thing they do that they don't do. I think that really is worthy of a lot of admiration, because it's just so uncommon. Hey, like, not many people would be willing to just, no, I'm not doing that.
No, absolutely sacrifice everything. It's the kind of thing that you see in the very top of other sports, you know, people that have just dedicated their lives to something, to the pursuit of true excellence. And even then,
yeah, I was talking with somebody about this the other day, and because we were talking about how the bar's been lifted, and we're seeing this new wave of, you know, at this professional, and I've said this a lot, and I've gotten a lot of hate for it, where I feel like we're seeing it's becoming increasingly difficult to come to triathlon later in life. And so I said, no, you know, if you're in your 20s and you find you're good at it, you can still, yeah, to a point, but you're never going to get to that top tier, like the Christians, the Gustavs, the Jans, the Alistairs. And I said, like, how many people take up football at 25 and end up playing for Real Madrid? Or how many people take up football at, NFL at 25 and play in the Super Bowl? Or how many people at 25 take up cricket and start playing for Australia? Like, there's not many sports out there where people come to it so late in life and are able to have, which again, I don't, it's a legitimate part of the sport, but we see those athletes who do come to it later in life, never able to truly cross over to that top, extremely small group of elite athletes. Like, and that's not to say the others aren't, they are amazing.
No, we were talking about this last week, and that group is going to grow over time, because you're going to have more people feeding into it. It's going to be an interesting few years in the sport, mate. I'm really looking forward to Paris next year. I'm really looking forward to Paris next year, because I think that's going to be a really unique snapshot of this point in time for the short course, and then we're going to see a lot of those short course athletes moving up into the long course game.
Interesting, because when we were talking about the long course stuff, but what I think is going to be very fascinating this year is because we've talked a lot about the new wave coming in at long course. I feel like we're about to see that at short course too, because we're in a pre-Olympic year. A lot of changes are about to happen, and I feel like we're going to see, You're not going to see the Javier Gomez's. You're not going to see the Alistair Brownleys. You're not going to see those guys trying to get their qualification spots and things. We're going to see this new generation of younger athletes come through now, trying to secure qualification for the Olympics next year. Like, I feel like this is also a time to, like, guys, really start to pay attention to those short course athletes that are starting to make a splash, because you're right. We're going to see a lot of the people after Paris, the Vincent Louis, the Henry Schoomans, those guys are going to age out of short course and they're going to go, I'm all in on.
This will be Vince Louis' fourth Olympics.
That's crazy, hey.
Not many people get to race fourth Olympics. At the moment, he is in a qualification slot, automatic qualification slot, being the second Frenchman behind Leo Bigier. So he should, if he can stay in that position, then good on him. He'll be going to his fourth Olympics.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's a cool time, hey. And I mean, you even started to see it a little bit at Super League last year, because we were saying, there's a lot of athletes on that list that we don't even know who the fuck they are. But some of them, like that Shashar Shagiv, the Israeli athlete, man, he was fire. Like he was incredible. Kenji Nima, another guy who we've sort of seen around a little bit. Yeah, like we are going to see this new wave of people. And that's not to say I think we're still going to see the Tylers and the Haydens and the Alex Yees and the Johnny Brownleys and those guys all feature, and the Christians and the Gustavs. But yeah, we're going to start to see more, like Jamie Riddell. Last year, I'd never even heard of Jamie Riddell. This year, he's like, he's a great athlete. We're going to see more and more of these young guys come in. And I keep saying, I feel like this is the generation that is reacting to what the Brownleys and the Gustavs and the Christians have done. Fucking hell, mate. How good is that going to be when we see these guys?
Yeah, man, because we got the people that grew up on that now. Coming into their own and starting to really set the sport on fire. It's going to be an interesting schedule this year. They've extended the WTCS season. We've got Abu Dhabi, Yokohama, Calgary, Montreal, Hamburg, Sunderland, and Pontevedra. And then we've also got the test event as well in August. So it's a lot of racing in the WTS season this year.
Is the test event after the grand final?
The test event is between Sunderland and Pontevedra.
And Pontevedra is the grand final?
I believe it is in September, 22nd to 24th.
Fuck, so it's an early grand final.
Mm-hmm.
Could be. Okay.
We've lost Bergen off the schedule. I saw that. But Pontevedra is Pontevedra is the World Championship final. So we got seven races this year. It's going to be an interesting season.
Abu Dhabi is the first race of the season?
Abu Dhabi on the 3rd to the 4th of March.
So in exactly 1 month's time.
Yeah, a month and a week.
And again, for those people who are...
It's 1st February, so yeah, a month and a day.
2nd February, yeah, mate. For those people who are long course purists and they don't like the short stuff because it's a draft fest, I'm talking to you right now. Listen, I hope you can feel the personal message I'm sending you right now. This is the time to start following the short course racing, because as we've said, it is a pre-Olympic year. You're going to see some wild shit happen in the next 18 months, because like it really is sort of all bets are off. People are going to be doing weird stuff. Think back a year and the Tom Bishop attempt to qualify the 3rd spot for GB, like you'll see bonkers stuff, and it's going to be awesome. So there's no better time to jump into short course racing. Year out, mate, or a year and a half out, who are your picks for Paris in the men's and women's?
Well, I've done it to you. You have done it to me. I mean, it's hard to look past Flora on the women's side.
I agree.
Because she's such a competitor. But my head says that. But for the men's side, I'm going to go with what I want to see rather than, not Vince Louis, mate. I want to see him win in Paris, because it would just be a dream come true for that man, and it would be so good for the sport to see, a Frenchman win in France.
I'm going to go a little bit, because I think Flora is probably the foregone favorite, but this athlete who's always sort of just like has the potential, but we've seen has been a bit like very hot and cold, but at home Olympics in front of thousands and thousands of people in Paris, Cassandra Beaugrand.
Yeah, absolutely. Because she's a few years ago when she was competing in Super League and doing really well, you could see her being the absolute next big thing. Then there's the next world champion, and it never really, she, like you say, she blows hot and cold. She fizzles out sometimes. She has a good race. She has a bad race. It would be really cool to see her laser focus on Paris, as I'm sure she's going to do, being that she's French, and bring all of her quality and talents to bear on that race and have a really good one. But again, I still can't see past Flora. But on the men's side, come on, Vince, let's go, mate. Come on, let's let's do it. He races like a motorbike. I fucking love it, mate. I love watching him on a bike.
Yeah, no, and again, the difference between the race like we saw in Tokyo compared to this is we're going to have the Vinces, the Henrys, and that, and hopefully, it's very easy to say that we don't have that attrition of injury and thing like that, which might again change the way the race unfolds a little bit.
Yeah.
If Gustav goes back and wins this thing, it's the greatest thing that's ever been done on the sport of triathlon. If he does that,
yeah.
All right. Whereas if Christian does it, it's a bit more expected, I think. Whereas if Gustav goes from Ironman World Champion back
to the Olympic medal, Ironman World Champion at Kona with the performance that he put in,
I hope he does it, mate.
To go back and win a gold medal would be.
I actually really hope he does it. Like, it would be amazing.
I agree with you. It would be an astounding thing to see. I don't think it will happen, though. You hear that, Gustav, mate? I know you listen. I love you, mate, but I can't see him winning a gold medal at the short course.
What about Christian?
Yeah, Christian could do it. He's proven that he's got the capacity. He's a proven winner. He's certainly got it in him. And, you know, if anyone's got the mindset to go and be belligerent and win a gold medal, having won the Ironman World Championships in St. George, then yeah, Christian's the man to do it. Again, I don't know if it'll happen, but
I love it. Isn't it funny how we doubted Christian the entire lead up to Tokyo? We're just like, I don't. He's gone up. He was very good at the start. I remember he won Yokohama and stuff. And did he win? He had a great start to the season. Then he sort of dropped off. And we're like, I think he's gone a bit too hard too early. And then he came out and fucking destroyed it. I feel like Christian Blumenfeld. I almost never want to ever include him in a yes or no argument anymore because I just don't fucking know anymore with him.
Yeah, and it's getting embarrassing, isn't it?
He is so. It's like you've thrown out the rule book with Christian. Mate, you're a fucking superstar, but it gets boring to say Christian every time. Like that's the point, isn't it? Like I 100% think he could definitely win this race.
He's just such a ledge, isn't he?
Yeah,
I remember watching him win that gold medal, sitting in a room full of people at my house who weren't triathletes and don't follow triathlon, and one of my mates was like, "Who's that guy? Looks like he's a darts player, and he seems to be winning the race."
And it's again, think about how he did it, mate. Like he attacked Alex Yee and Hayden Wild, two of the best runners in the sport.
Yeah,
he attacked them with 2 kilometers to go, mate. Like we're not talking a 500 meter sprint. We're talking 2 kilometers.
Yeah, I mean, it's basically he did what in a very strange hypothetical world, you or I, if we found ourselves in that position with 2 kilometers to go against Alex Yee and Hayden Wild, he did the only thing that we feel we could do, which is like, fuck, we just got to go now. My only chance is to go now. I'm not going to win the sprint. Just go now.
And then to keep going, I still remember he pushed, and then he pushed again, and then he pushed again, and you're just like, this guy isn't human. Like he's a machine. But mate, you know what? We've done it.
We did it, didn't we?
We've done it. We've got to the end. If people want to find out more about MX Endurance, where do they need to go?
If you want to find out more about MX Endurance, head to mxendurance.com or MX Endurance on Facebook or at MX Endurance on Twitter or Instagram. If you want to follow me, I'm at bale.james85 on Instagram, or you can follow Tim at T414 on Instagram. Jump onto iTunes, give the show a review. You can do it in the podcast app. It really helps us out, and it's super easy. If you like what we're doing, tell a friend, help us grow. If you've got any suggestions, comments, or criticism, send an email to podcast@mxendurance.com. That email address doesn't work anymore. I'll let Tim give you the appropriate one.
Just use social media, I guess.
Yeah, DM him. He loves
DM me. I will also just quickly add, because my day job is I work with Mana Group, and we are the Phoenix Foundation. One of the things that is worth shouting out now, if we have any listeners who know anybody, the applications are open for the next week and a half, I think, left for the Phoenix Athlete Program. So if anybody listening here knows any athletes who are going to the Paris Olympics and need some financial support, tell them to apply. And it's all sports, all countries. It doesn't matter. It's not just triathlon. It's the more sports, better. So if anybody listening knows of any local athletes or people who need a bit of support to get to the Paris Olympics, head to the Phoenix website and put in an application, because they've got, I think, 12 slots to give away just to support athletes to the games. So get on it. It's a good thing.
Love it.
Jimbo, a pleasure, mate. Talk to you next week.